Hello, everybody. My name is Sheldon Bear. I'd like to share my story with you. But first, I'd like to give you a little background so it'll help you understand my experiences with the Lubavitcher Rebbe. I was born in East New York in 1940. The Jewish community in 1940 was going through a tremendous transition of the Second World War. They were pretty hardcore, faced some of the biggest tragedies the Jewish nation has ever withstood. In that environment, you had to fit a certain mold. And being a young little guy, I was not considered a standard square in the box. I considered myself, or they considered me, outside the box. So naturally, there was a lot of friction and a lot of problems going to the yeshivas and interfacing with the rabbis. So it sort of turned me off from Yiddishkeit and observance and having my true feeling of the Jewish religion. And at that time, naturally, my parents being Orthodox and grandparents, they were very concerned. They felt that I was going in the wrong direction, and they were beside themselves. So they were looking for answers, how they can make it win-win, where I would be more observant, have more interest. So we had friends, good friends, in the Crown Heights area. Rabbi Moshe Aaron Kashinsky, Reva Kashinsky is real, very big in the Lubavitch community. And they were very good friends of our family, and they recommended that I go see the Rebbe and that they should get advice. This year was 1950, and the Lubavitcher Rebbe just passed away, and the Crown Heights area were in a bit of, they were going through their own issues of losing one of the greatest rabbis that ever lived in the modern era. So several months went by, and shortly before my 10th birthday, which is in June, I went to see the Lubavitcher Rebbe. At that point, he didn't accept the actual position until 1951. But this is what took place. I went into the office. The Rebbe was sitting behind his desk, and I stood in front of the desk to his right. And my mother and my baby sister, Temester, was standing at the door. They closed the door. And the Rebbe turned to my mother, and my mother started talking Yiddish to the Rebbe. And she was telling the Rebbe, she says, look, we live in East New York, and he was thrown out of the yeshiva of Belmont Avenue, the first yeshiva they built, Torres Chaim. I don't know what to do. The Rebbe said, they just keep giving me bad reports. He doesn't like the school. He doesn't like the homework. He doesn't like the Rebbeim. He doesn't, Rebbe, and she's crying and crying. And personally, I was bored. I mean, I'm listening to the same story. The Rebbe's bad-mouthing me, telling me I'm going to be this, I'm not going to be this. I'm back and forth. And the Rebbe's patiently listening. And then that conversation went on quite a while. So after my mother gets through crying and she's worried about me and everything, well, so naturally the Rebbe turns to me and he goes, come over here. And I stand next to the Rebbe and he smiles. And I sort of started the conversation because I was ready for the same situation. I'm not any good. I don't listen. I have no interest. I was ready for the whole scene. So I said to the Rebbe, I said, "You're the Rebbe?" So he smiled and he looked at me with a big smile and he goes, "There's the Rebbe." And I go, "Wow." I turn around and I look at a picture. Man with a beard. I didn't know who he was at the time. So I turn back to the Rebbe and he smiles again and he says, gives 3 questions he gives me. First question is, "Are you a good boy?" I go, "No," with conviction. No holding back. I was ready. Next was, "You like school?" I go, "No." So then he gives me the third question. "Do you listen to your mother?" I go, "No." So he turns to my mother and he goes, "Emes, be good." And that was the start, my friends. The start of me meeting the Rebbe. And it fast forward, boom, boy, it pushed me right back into the whole, he didn't badmouth me, he didn't tell me I was no good, he didn't say I can't eat potatoes and pretzels in class, he was, that's it, conversation. Well, a lot took place from 1950 to my story of 1959. So we're going to fast forward because I don't want to make this tape any longer than it has to be, but this is a powerful story. It's a very powerful story, and I think everybody's going to get something out of it. So here we go. 1959, big event. I get drafted, notice in the U.S. military army. Get the paperwork, I look at it, wow, I'm going into the army. 1959, report, November 17th, 1959. So naturally, like always, since I met the Rebbe, any major event or any time something came up that I felt was important, I contacted the Rebbe. So no different now. I went to see my Rebbe. I went into the office and I said to the Rebbe, I've been drafted and I'm going to report November 17th to the army for basic training or whatever else, So I said, naturally, Rebbe, I don't know what I'm up against or where I'm going, but I come for I come for a bracha, your blessing that, whatever. Naturally, no problem. I got my bracha. There was no instructions to do this, do that. Just okay. The bracha, standard. Really normal stuff. Well, I report to Fort Dix. I go into basic training in Fort Dix. Then I went to an advanced communication school. Then after that, I was stationed up in Denver, Watertown, New York, and I performed different functions, communications, other entities. There in the States, I was there about 7 months, and I get orders to go overseas. And it lists, you're going to Korea. Standard procedure was when you went overseas, you would go home, spend some time with your family, and prepare to travel to your, to where you're going to go overseas. And that's exactly what I did. I went home back to Brooklyn. At that time, my parents were living in Canarsie, and I got into the house and I said to my mother, Mom, I just got orders to go overseas to Korea. I have a little time to spend with the family and blah, blah, blah. Okay. She wasn't too happy. Naturally, her son, was going overseas to Korea. It's not going around the block. It's the other side of the world, and whatever. Now, in just turned, this is 2019. It's January, the beginning of the year. I'm making this tape. Naturally, everybody heard about Korea. So, in those days, what can I tell you? No one heard of the 38th parallel, North Korea. Today, big story. So anyway, back to what happened. So I was out with a few friends a couple of days before I'm ready to leave. And I go ahead and, with my buddies, and I get back into the house, and my mother says to me, Shalom, she says, we just got a call from 770, and the Rebbe left a message, the secretary, that he wants to see you. I said, what? What do you mean, wants to see me? What did I do? First thing, Rebbe calls you, what did you do wrong? So naturally, I drive over to 770, and I walked in to the Rebbe's office. Shalom Aleichem, our normal greeting, and normal stuff. How's it going? He pretty much knew what was going on, but formality, he says, I understand you'll be going overseas. I said, wow, yeah, I didn't get a chance to tell you, Rebbe. I guess you already knew. He says, yeah, he says, Korea, right? I said, yeah, Korea. He says, okay. I said, anyway, so at that point, he gets on the phone, and he calls his office, and he says to his secretary, I'm pretty sure it was Klein, Groner, I think Klein. So he says, Shalom's in the office, I got something waiting for him. So I'm like, whoa, okay, time out, you got something waiting. Secretary comes to the office, and he's carrying a little bag, like this. Matter of fact, he's carrying this thing here. Puts it down in the Rebbe's office, and the Rebbe goes, Shalom, I got these tefillin. I'm sending you with them. What? And I turned to the Rebbe, and I said, wait, well, Rebbe, I still have my tefillin from my bar mitzvah. 13 wasn't that long ago. And the Rebbe looks at me, he says, I know what you got. I know. He says, but I'm sending you with these tefillin. And I was like confused, because I was like, I was completely confused. So the Rebbe senses that he's always spoke very edel to me, but all of a sudden, he says, I'm sending you with these tefillin. And he opened them up, and he had them out of the bag. And he says, I want you to put them on. And then he goes, he says, did you hear me? And I'm like stunned. So he says, I want your promise that you're going to do this. And I'm still like shocked. I don't know how to respond. And he says, did you hear me? And I'm like, and then louder he says, with a, like, I didn't hear your promise. And I go, yeah, I promise. But I'm like, he says, I want you to put them on. And for any reason you don't or unable to, say the Shema. And I'm like coming out of the shock of this whole scene, he says to me, but I want to prepare you. It's going to be rough. It's going to be hard. I want you to be prepared. And I'm like, hey, people, I'm telling you, I'm like out there. I don't, you know. So let's go through the timeline. He says to me, you'll be leaving shortly. And I said, yes, Rebbe. I'm going to spend L.A., Erev Rosh Hashanah, a week before Rosh Hashanah, with my uncle in California, Los Angeles. Then I'm stationed to report to Oakland, California. He says, okay. And that was it. I left the Rebbe's office. I took the tefillin that the Rebbe handed me, and on my way. I get home, I tell my parents, they're like, wow, big stuff. And, you know, they're like also confused, but whatever, Rebbe said. Shortly after that, it's time for me to go to LA. I get on the plane in Oakland. I get on the plane to Los Angeles out of Idlewild Airport. No jumbo jet, propeller job, military style, you know? So I get to the airport, Idlewild, get on the plane, and we fly to Los Angeles. During Los Angeles, I spent Rosh Hashanah in Los Angeles with my uncle, and I was to report in Oakland, California on Friday, Erev Yom Kippur, which came out on a Shabbos. In 1960, Yom Kippur was on that Shabbos. So I fly into Oakland, California. I'm walking and I bump into a guy, literally bango. Guy turns to me and we exchange greetings. He says, hi, you wouldn't happen to be Jewish? I said, yeah. How about you? He says, yeah. I said, are there more of us? He says, yeah, you and me. We're the only ones. I checked around. I said, you know, tomorrow is Yom Kippur. Is there a shul we can go to? He says, yeah, right. Oakland, 1960. Forget it. I said, well, what do we do? He says, I don't know. He says, I hear there could be some shuls in San Francisco. I said, San Francisco? I'm from Brooklyn. Where's San Francisco? He says, I tell you, he says, it's the other side of the Golden Gate Bridge. I said, where's the Golden Gate Bridge? He says, oh, it's over there. He says, yeah, okay. So I said, you know what we'll do? We'll get up in the morning, we'll get dressed in our dress uniforms, and we'll walk to San Francisco. We'll look for shul, okay? And we're fasting, so we walk the Golden Gate Bridge. We go into San Francisco all day. We're looking for shul. Can't find the shul. So night comes, we're still fasting. I said, this ain't working. We better get home, back to base. So we turned around. We got a hitch back to base. We pulled back in. We broke the fast, and that was it. Now, get this timeline, guys. The next day is Sunday after Yom Kippur. Okay? Get off. No work, nothing. We're going to leave on our journey that Monday, early Monday morning. Now, early Monday morning, we get on a plane, military style. 4 stops. First stop, Hawaii. Second stop, Wake Island. Third, Japan. Fourth is the Korea. Okay? So we take off was sitting on like a bench at the side of the plane. The whole outfit, all the guys that left with me, we're all on this plane. First stop, Hawaii. Big moment. We get off the plane for refueling. I'm sitting there, I'm sitting on a bench at the airport military section. And, just chilling. And I don't know. I stood up, and while I stand up, I don't know why I stood up. I stand up, and there's the lieutenant standing by the area where we're going to reboard the plane, and then, while I'm looking, a colonel walks over. Colonel walks over to the lieutenant, he salutes him, and he says, he says to the lieutenant, I got to get on the plane. So the lieutenant, and I, like it's my business, I'm walking over there. I walk over to the area where the lieutenant is talking to the colonel, and the lieutenant says, sure, sir. Turns to me and he goes, Bear, you're off the plane. You got your little name over here. They can't miss who you are. Naturally, the colonel got the same name. He's got his name over his pocket. So I turned to the lieutenant. Wait, sir. Why me? What did I do? What am I? He says, Bear, you're off the plane. There's no conversation. That's it. I said, well, sir, pick somebody else. So, conversation over. So what I do is I write the colonel's name down, figuring, when a young kid's brain works, I'm going to court-martial him when I became more general, could throw me off the plane. So, it's not the easiest feeling. You left in Hawaii, everybody left. So I'm in the airport by myself, and I don't know when the next plane coming. So time goes on, I start talking to some military people in the back, and I said, when's the next plane? I want to catch up to my outfit. I want to, he said, well, we don't know for sure, this isn't. Finally, hours go by, and I finally get the next plane. And where do we go? We go into Wake Island. Next stop, fuel, small island, just remnants of the World War II, some big battles, but real small. Hey guys, an airport, that's all it was, just a fueling station. Next stop is we take off, and we get into Japan. And naturally, I get into Japan, I got my orders, and I go over to the orderly room to check in. I walk up to the company clerk, and I say, I'm Private Bear. I just came in from the States. I'm scheduled for Korea. Here's my orders. And he says to me, what are you doing here? I said, what am I doing here? I just came from, He says, I said, telling him a story. I was in Hawaii, and I was taken off the plane. And he looks confused because, I don't understand. I said, I don't understand. What's the problem? Just, So this went on for a few minutes, and then he says, just wait here, please. He goes to the lieutenant. He says to the officer, he says, we got a guy there, says he just came in from Hawaii. He was taken off the plane, blah, blah, blah. I think you got to talk to him. So I go into an office. They take me into a little room, and they start questioning me. I mean, it was a heavy question. Did you leave the airport? Did you, I said, no. He says, did you come back? A whole kinds of crazy questions. So I said to him, no, I don't understand. There was this colonel so-and-so. I give him his name, had the paper. And he says, I said, So he says, I said, what's the problem? Here's the colonel's name. He says, we did. We looked him up. There's no such colonel. I said, what do you mean there's no such colonel? I wrote his name down. I was standing next to the guy. So he says, I said, call Hawaii. You see, I was talking to these people. They'll verify. They call up and you verify, blah, blah, blah. I said, look, sir, I said, you got me completely confused. I didn't do anything wrong. And here, I said, what's the issue? What's the problem? He says, well, to tell you the truth, the plane's missing. I said, what do you mean the plane's missing? He says, yeah, we lost radio contact. I said, you lost radio contact? He says, yeah. He says, we don't know where, what, or how. So, okay. 100 years later, I'm thinking about it now, and I relived this experience. It's like, well, okay, you lost the plane, and I'm here, and, nothing made sense, but I'm on my way to Korea. That's, being 19 years old, your head doesn't work like when you're older, but I was ready to go, So this had no effect. All of a sudden, the plane's missing, like, give me a break. So next up, I get on a plane again, and next up is Korea. I go ahead, I get into the base of Korea, and naturally I'm kind of looking for my outfit. I'm getting blown away because now the plane's missing. I don't know where I'm going to go, where I'm going to check in, and I'm really I don't know, I'm really confused because, the people I'm with, I'm supposed to do this, but this, now they're missing. It's whatever. So I go ahead, everything has a purpose. I don't know, being confused naturally. I'm walking, and I literally, I just bunked right into this guy, a sergeant. And we bunked like we couldn't have hit any harder, and he turns and he says to me, he says, hi, how are you? He says, hi, I'm doing good. I just got to Korea. He says to me, wow, he says, I'm leaving. I said, you're leaving? What do you mean you're leaving? He says, yeah, this is my second tour in Korea. I was here during the Korean conflict, the big war. He says, and now I came back again, and I'm a cook. Got out of the infantry, and I went back in as a cook. And I'm here for a second tour, and now I'm on my way out. So I said to the guy, I said to him, I'm going to be stationing here till my discharge. So he says to me, you look Jewish. I said, I am Jewish. I said, how about you? He says, yeah, I'm a Jew too. He says, I can remember the old potato latkes I make in the base over here that my grandmother used to make. And we went, we're sharing history. So anyway, to speed it up a little bit, because I don't want to go through things. So, because every story has a point, and I don't know why I was in this particular conversation, but I guess Hashem had his reasoning to. So he says, I'm going to tell you a story. And I'm listening to this guy like, hello. Like, I don't, so he says to me, in the war, I was in an outfit in the first tour, and we were ordered to do a major invasion. He says, I want to tell you something. I'm not a religious guy. I'm not even a guy. I'm Jewish. Yom Kippur, he says, once in a while I went to shul if I felt up to it. He's telling me, like, where is he coming from? Why are you telling me these things, like. So I'm listening patiently, and he says, I'm going to tell you this amazing story. He says, I said, yeah, my parents, I told them, were religious, and, I'm affiliated. I'm very close with the Lubavitcher Rebbe in Brooklyn. I'm one of the outsiders looking in, and we're going back and forth. He says, I'm going to tell you a story. So I'm listening, and I said, okay, tell me the story. He says, I'll tell you the story. So he tells me a story. I was in this war outfit, major invasions that take place. My whole time in Korea, I never sick. Never sick. So we're told the next morning we're going to invade North Korea. And in front of us, we're supposed to get a good night's sleep. In front of us, we're supposed to have the South Koreans, the Rock Army, posted in front of us as a bumper zone to protect us. I wake up that morning. He says, before this action is going to take place, and I get a fever, first time, 104. I go to the medics at the field, they take my temperature, 104, can't do nothing for you. I've got to send you back to Seoul. So he said, okay. So I go back to Seoul, he says. And in Seoul, he says, they take my temperature, I'm completely normal. I said, whoa, I'm normal? He says, so you got to go back. He says, okay, I'll go back. So he says, they put me on a Jeep, goes about 50 feet, gets a flat tire. So now I get out of the Jeep, I go back to the oiling room, tell him, okay, we'll put you in a 5-ton. And they send him out on a 5-ton. He goes a little distance, it overheats. Turns around, goes back, same story. We'll send you another vehicle. Sends him on a third vehicle, something happens. Goes back, so we have no more vehicles to send you. So that whole day, he's in Seoul, has no transportation back to the Triple Nickel. So he goes in, he's telling me, the next morning he gets up and he wants to get back to his outfit. So what do they have? They have ambulances that are going to go to his outfit. So he says, he jumps into the ambulance because it's going back and the sirens are going off. He doesn't know what's going on. And he's saying to me, he says, he gets to his outfit and there's a ton of military ambulances all over the place, opening up sleeping bags. What happens is his whole outfit got wiped out. There was a surprise attack by the North Koreans. There was a confusion in the orders of the protective zone, and they were left wide open, and anyway, they got wiped out. He was the only survivor. And he's telling me this, and I don't know. I'm saying to myself, well, hello. I mean, I don't know, but anyway, I we shake hands. I said, you have a good, going back to the States. He says, have a good tour, and we left. Okay, end of comment. Why, where, how, reason, had a reason. I go ahead, and I report to the ordering room, and they say, you're going to be in barracks so-and-so. And I report into the barracks, and guess what, guys? A complete Southern outfit. Unbelievable, man. And I want to tell you the actual fact. They don't like Jews. And the sergeant was the worst of all. And he let me know how much he disliked me from the day I walked into the barracks. So, wow. Here I go ahead. I'm in a Southern outfit because the plane was, all this coming around. And now the reality is setting in that the Rebbe says it's going to be hard. Wow. Okay. Rebbe gives me the tefillin. I'm in a Southern outfit in Korea and not liked. Well, I want to tell you, my fellow brothers out there, this is not an airport where you get a little nervous putting tefillin on, or in an airplane. This is a Southern redneck outfit from the deep South, and I'm in this outfit. Well, naturally, the Rebbe said, put the tefillin on, so what? I put the tefillin on, and man, these people were just beside themselves. They're looking at me and mumbling. And I said the Shema and did my thing, and it was uncomfortable. I felt like I was in, I don't want to say the words, but man, this was heavy duty stuff. So the lieutenant, the sergeant was really, he was beside himself. He was a real Jew hater, big time Jew hater. And he had control pretty much of the whole scene. No one's going to buck him because everybody was in that same boat. So I did the best I could, and the it got to the point where it was almost unbearable for me to put the tefillin on. It really was. It was like, I mean, I felt this guy was gonna do something crazy. So literally, I stopped putting the tefillin on. I stopped putting the tefillin on the Rebbe's tefillin. And I continued without the tefillin to say the Shema, because I'm glad the Rebbe gave me that back door a little bit, because he probably foresaw when he said, now I understood when the Rebbe said it was going to be hard and to prepare myself. The reality started to make more sense because the Rebbe went ahead and he told me with conviction it's going to be hard. So now it was hard. So I stopped the tefillin. A short period later, I get a letter from my mother, and I open the letter up, and I'm like, open it up, and the letter says, "My dear son Shalom," and the words in it were, "I received from 770 a call that the Rebbe says you are not keeping your promise." Man, I tell you. I want to tell you guys, it blew my mind. My mother did not say what the promise was, just simple, short, to the point. The Rebbe said you were not keeping your promise. Now, man, I turn around like, what do I do? The Rebbe says I'm not keeping my promise, and this sergeant wants to kill me. I mean, like, where do I go? What do I do? I turned to the Shemayim. I said, hey, look, what do I do? So I was really beside myself. I knew that this sergeant would have probably done the worst to think about. So I was all flushed, and I thought I had a fever. So I go to the medics. And I walk in, I'm all flushed, and this new medic that I never saw before just came in from Japan. And he looks at me and he smiles. And he says, "What can I do you?" I said, "I'm not feeling good." So he says, "You're not feeling good?" I said, "Yeah, I'm not feeling good." So he says, "Well, do you have fever?" I said, "I don't know, I'm kind of flushed." I said, so he says to me, "Tell me," he says, tell me what I can do." I said, "I'll tell you, I have a little bit of situation," and I didn't want to get into any of this heavy detail. I said to him, I just said, I have a little conflict with my sergeant, and I gotta transfer out of the outfit. So he says to me, "Well, what's the problem?" I said to him, "I gotta buy 30 days because it takes 30 days. He says, "How do you know?" I said, "Oh, I just came from the orderly room." And I asked them for a transfer, and they said, "Forget it." I said, "Well, no, I have to get a transfer." And they said, "Well, the only way you're going to get a transfer is to go to a outfit that nobody wants to go to, and a place where nobody wants to be, and it takes 30 days, a minimum." So I said, "Where's that?" He says, "Well, Camp Ession. It's an old Turk compound, living quarters like this. And it's an outfit that it's engineering outfit that goes in behind enemies' areas, blows up bridges, mines. No one wants to do that. That's dangerous stuff. So he says, okay, well, what can I do you? I said, well, I gotta. So like out of the blue, man, I was taking martial arts in Korea. I was taking Aikido and Judo, and I dislocated in one of my lessons my left knuckle, this knuckle, if you could see it. So what happened was, in one of the events, this knuckle was relocated to this point. So my instructor, my sensei, went ahead and he saw it and he reset it back for me, but it left a little tiny bump, like a little bone over here. So this doctor, or the medic, says to me, he puts his hand on my hand and he goes, how's your hand? I said, my hand's fine. So he says, you sure? I feel a little, yeah, I told him the story. He says, oh, he's okay. He said, he says, I think maybe we need a cast. I said, cast? Okay. I caught on, cast. He says, and if we put a cast on, it has to last at least 30 days. Oh, 30 days, that'll work. That's great. So he puts a cast on. He puts a cast on me, which was great because now I got this cast. I turn around, and the next morning I got this nice cast, white. And the next morning I knew I go to Reveille, and the sergeant, he's got a perfect job for me to do the next morning. Naturally, it was getting hairy. So I go ahead and I report for Reveille, in the morning, and we're standing there, and first name he calls out for duty, Bear, and I go, Sarge, light duty. I mean, like, this guy went ballistic. Like Rumpelstiltskin, he started kicking the ground. And I said, I got light duty, cast on arm. And anyway, so he is beside himself. So anyway, thank God, 30 days go by. My transfer comes through, and I get sent to this combat engineering company, and it's Camp Ession, living quarters we won't even talk about, but Baruch Hashem, nice outfit, 50% Rock Army and 50% American soldiers, and I'm stationed there with the Rock Army and the American soldiers in Camp Ession in South Korea, not far from the DMZ. Baruch Hashem, I'm putting the Rebbe's tefillin on, and it's really a whole new thing, and I'm really excited because now I can say the Shema, and I could put the tefillin on, the Rebbe's tefillin. Okay, all's going good. Happy. My time comes for discharge, ready to go out of discharge. This is an amazing part because I'm going to tell you something. Shem's got his own, telling you. Goes ahead and he, time for me, so ready for discharge. So naturally, my discharge, you allow like 17 to 20 days before your discharge to be able to travel back to the States. I flew here by plane, you go back by boat. So what happened was, when it came time for me to leave, I went to Incheon. It's time for me to leave Korea. I'm really excited. I left my outfit. I'm in Incheon. I get on a PT boat, and how it worked was you get on this landing craft, you get on the boat, and you go to the ship, you go up the ladders, and you're ready to go home. Great. Sounds wonderful, right, guys? Okay. I'm on this PT boat. We are ready to get up on the ladder, and all of a sudden, mamish, sirens go off, a loudspeaker, we're returning to shore. What do you mean we're returning to shore? What are you, crazy? Sure, I want to get on the ship. People were going crazy. The soldiers want to leave. Lots of luck. We get back on shore. Guess what? President Kennedy just halted all soldiers overseas, Berlin crisis, Bay of Pigs, big event, worldwide, all foreign troops frozen, including yours truly. What does this mean? Now I am stuck on my time in Korea? This has got to be crazy. I mean, this is like heavy-duty stuff. Turn around, get back to my outfit. Get back to my outfit. Word is spreading. Major invasion of North Korea. Now everybody knows about North Korea. 1961. Who knew about North Korea? 38 parallel. DMZ, it was like the moon. You didn't know. Nobody heard of it, doing your own thing. Get back to my outfit. What's going on? Saying, we just got orders. We're going to the DMZ. What are we going to the DMZ? We're not infantry. We got another job. No, all military soldiers in Southern Korea, South Korea, are reported to the DMZ, 38 parallel. Okay. We get to the 38th parallel. It's the winter month. Cold, rainy, miserable. We're standing there, thousands of soldiers from all different MOSs. MOS is your job in the military. I was a combat engineer. I was not an infantry soldier. I did my own fighting in a different way. We are set to be infantry with our rifles, machine guns, and foxholes. My outfit was beside themselves. What are we doing here? What's going on? Well, anyway, what happens is a general gets up and he speaks to all the troops and he breaks the news to us. Soldiers, you have been designated to be the bumper zone between North Korea and all the echelons in Seoul for evacuation if the invasion takes place. You have been the Corbin. You've been selected to be that bumper zone. Oh, wow. It was like the Bonsai Squad, So I listened specially with all my fellow soldiers, and what happens? We get in this foxhole. I'm in this foxhole. And everybody is nervous. What makes it worse is it's part snow, hail, rain is coming down. And the foxhole, I can't tell you, I want to give you a feeling of the environment. It's freezing, cold, damp, water up to my knees, And I'm like thinking. And all of a sudden, the artillery starts to shoot from North Korea to south at the 38th parallel. And the bombs come over, and the bodies, the soldiers are bouncing out of the 38th parallel foxholes, including our platoon. And everybody is just going crazy. We don't know. We don't have much bullets. We've been taking, this is all a very pitiful situation. We don't have enough real, we've been taken sort of by surprise. The shipments were supposed to come, they got rerouted, but anyway. So one of the, everyone is really scared. I mean, they were just got all this fear on their eyes, including me. I mean, I'm telling you, I'm just like, I'm in a position where we're ready to meet our maker, because our backs against the wall. We don't know, this is the end. We were ready to face it because there was no place to run, hide. I mean, this is it. This is the moment of truth. This is the moment. We had no place to go. We're in this foxhole. The artillery is firing in. We're waiting for a massive invasion of North Korea and the Chinese. We're all prepped for this. Everybody is just going crazy. And out of the blue, the last thing I'm thinking about is one of the non-Jewish soldiers in my platoon says to me, "Bear, what? We need God." What do you mean you need God? We need God. You want God? What are you going to do? He says, "You know those funny boxes you put on, the funny boxes?" Yeah, okay, what? I got my helmet on. It's raining, pouring, hail, mud, dirt. He says, "You got to pray for us. We're going to die. You got to pray to God." I said, "Pray to God? You want God? This is a foxhole. I'm mud." And he says to me, he got crazy. He picks up his rifle and he points his rifle. He says, "If you don't pray for me and everybody here, I'm going to shoot you." And he was serious. I mean, this guy went ballistic. So I said, "Okay, calm down. I took the tefillin out in the rain, in the mud, in the dirt. I opened up the tefillin. I took out the tefillin, the boxes. I took my helmet off and the bombs and everything, and I put the tefillin on. And before I even can get the tefillin on, it fell in the mud. It's in the mud. I picked the tefillin out of the mud. It's all full of mud on my hands. I put the tefillin on my hand, on my arm with the mud, the dirt, the water. I put them on my head. I put the tefillin on my head, put my helmet back on my head because the artillery was bouncing us around. And I go ahead, and in the mud, in the dirt, in the rain, I looked up at the Shmayim, and I said the Shema. And I said the Shema. And the minute I finished the Shema, a voice and a siren goes off. I don't even know what's going on. I'm in shock. And a voice comes over. "The alert. We've just got word that Russia is turning the ships around and the alert is over and everything is okay." I mean, like, I'm in shock. I mean, like, I'm saying to myself, whoa. I don't put it together, like, hindsight, 2020. I put the tefillin back in the bag. And what happens is, it's all full of mud. There was mud on the tefillin, dirt. I didn't even fold them up, guys. I just stuck the tefillin back in the bag. I stuck them back in the bag. And see these tefillin? Here they've been done. So what happens is I stuck them back in the bag. Figured they were ruined. I don't know, because I stuck them back in. And I went ahead and put them back in. Forgot all about the scene. Got back to the States, and for many, many years, the tefillin laid in this bag, in this little bag, that the ones where the Rebbe gave me. In 2013, I had a dream, and I'm thinking about the tefillin and the episode of the 38th parallel, and I was thinking to myself, you know, the percentage, the odds of anybody putting tefillin on the 38th parallel in the middle of the conditions and you got a better shot at the lotto. You know, I'm saying to myself, it didn't fit. So I'm thinking about the tefillin, and I say, you know, I haven't opened the bag since I left the 38th parallel, and something was thinking, and I figured I'd open the bag and see what's in there. And I opened the bag, and here's another bag, a newer bag, and I pulled out the tefillin. It was the mud, the dirt from the 38th parallel was still in the tefillin, was still there. These tefillin, they look pretty now, don't they? So what I did was, I had this thought, and I'm saying to myself, you know, I wonder if anything is left in this thing. They got to be ruined. So there's a scribe on Detroit Street in Los Angeles in 2013, where I usually get my tefillins checked. So I went down to him and I told him the story, and he got blown away. He says, "Wow," he says to me, "you know," he says, he looks at the tefillin, he says, "You know," he says, "they're all full of mud." I said, "I know, for 38th parallel." So he says to me, they got to be ruined, but let's just take a look. So what he does is he takes the tefillin out, you know, and there were old boxes and the whole 10 yards. And the rabbi, he's holding them, and he's trying to get the mud off. And he opens the boxes up, he cuts around, and he starts to pull out the parchments. And he goes, and I'm standing next to him, and I'm saying to himself, gee, I wonder if anything is left. Maybe they flew away, you know, the words. So he opens them up, and he goes like, wow, wow, wow. And I said to him, you know, I said, what? He says, I can't believe these parchments. They're like brand new. And I'm seeing him pull the mud. Out of inside out. They have like a felt, like a sponge over the parchments, and they're all full of mud. He pulls the parchment out, they're like brand new. The boxes are warped, and really messed up, the boxes. So I said to the rabbi, I said, you know, I said to him, because of the story, he says, ordinarily I'd have you just, you know, whatever, get new boxes or whatever, but because of this story and what you're telling me, I'm gonna make it a way to repair your tefillin. And I said, wow. So he repaired them. And here are these tefillin, both pair, you can look, that he restored my tefillin, the Rebbe's tefillin, that was given to me by the Lubavitcher Rebbe, completely restored. Here's the tefillin, mamish, with new strings, new chords, everything kosher, from 2013. And I put them on. I put them on beside my regular Rashi and Rabbeinu Tam. I put them on a Bli Neder when I want to put an extra set on. Now, amazing enough, everybody, here are the original straps. You could see these are all rotted, the original straps that were rotted from the original set of tefillin, but I keep them in the actual bag that the Rebbe, this was the original bag that I keep, that the Rebbe handed me. I got a new bag that I bought, a nice fresh one that I put in these tefillin. So, you know, in a summary, guys, the power of the Rebbe's tefillin, the power of tefillin is awesome. I mean, the odds of anybody else putting those tefillin or any tefillin on the 38th parallel is, like I said, easier than a lotto. You know, you'd win first. But anyway, put tefillin on. It's important. It's important for all the young people, old, young, and everybody to put tefillin on. Well, this is my story, everybody. You know, and it makes me think every time I put the tefillin on and I say the Shema, I'm in that foxhole. And I think about that foxhole every time, and I look up at the Shemayim. And if anybody wishes to see the tefillin or hold the tefillin, I live in Valley Village, California. The Rabbi Chabad here knows me very well. I pray there. And my last name is Bear. My first name is Shelley or Shalom Bear. And I'll be more than happy to show you these tefillin and invite you to where I live here now. I've been living in Valley Village for about 2 years now. I'm originally from West Hills, that I've lived there for 44 years after coming to California from Brooklyn, New York. Okay? Thanks for listening. I know that this tape took a little long, but I hope you all get a lot out of it. Thank you, and be well.